Dr. Isabel Hartman pushed through the sliding doors of Denver International Airport, her breath shallow, her grip white-knuckled around a black leather medical bag. In her other hand, her phone was pressed so tightly to her ear it left a faint red mark. "Dr. Hartman, you need to get here now," the voice on the other end pleaded. It was Dr. Singh, her colleague from Santa Barbara Memorial.
12-year-old girl. Critical congenital defect. We're out of time. Her parents begged for you. Specifically, they've read every paper you've published. If she doesn't go under the knife tonight, she won't make it to dawn.
I'm heading to the gate. Put her on pre-op prep. I'll be there before 8.
To most, she looked like any frantic traveler in a sea of humanity. But under that tailored coat and messy ponytail was one of the nation's top pediatric heart surgeons, known for operating on cases so rare, other doctors simply turned them away. Her hands had saved hundreds of tiny lives. But today, every second she lost could cost one. As she darted toward the check-in counter, weaving through families and businessmen, her brain was already performing mental surgery. The conditioned double-outlet right ventricle with added complications was notoriously tricky. But Isabel had perfected a high-risk method over 8 years. If anyone could save the girl, it was her. She spotted the airline counter. 3 people in line. Her heart lifted. 3:47 p.m. If she could get on the 4:30 flight, she'd be in the OR by 8 sharp. Still doable, just barely. She reached into her bag, searching for her ID, and in one brutal second, everything went flying. Her overloaded bag snagged the rope barrier. Her purse crashed to the floor. Out spilled a chaotic storm. Stethoscope, prescription pad, phone charger, lip balm, travel snacks, even a child's bracelet she kept for luck. She dropped to her knees.
No, come on.
Isabel Hartman was still on her knees when she looked up just in time to see a pair of designer shoes and a glinting platinum watch step past her to the counter. The man was textbook arrogance. Late 30s, slicked back hair, Italian suit, and beside him, a tall blonde woman who looked like she was born in first class. As Isabel scrambled under the rope barrier to retrieve her stethoscope, the airline rep Kevin, according to his name tag, shifted uncomfortably.
"Sir, I'll need to check availability, but there's another customer ahead of you."
I'm here. I just dropped my purse. I was in line first.
We were at the counter. 2 first-class tickets to Santa Barbara. Make it quick.
The man, Graham Whitmore Isabel, caught the name on his flashy black credit card, didn't so much as glance in her direction, then sliding his card across like it was a poker chip.
"Actually, sir, the doctor was here first."
She's on the floor. I'm at the counter.
Isabel rose, her coat wrinkled, her bun slightly undone, and her breath catching in her throat.
Please. I'm Dr. Isabel Hartman. I need to be on that flight. It's a medical emergency. A child needs surgery before midnight.
There are 2 seats left on flight 447 to Santa Barbara. Departs in 43 minutes.
Then book both. For me and my fiancé.
Kevin looked visibly torn. His eyes darted between the exhausted doctor and the man already waiting with his hand out. Company policy was policy, and policy didn't always care about ethics. He handed the boarding passes to Graham. Isabel's jaw clenched, but she didn't argue. What was there to say? It was done. She watched as Graham pocketed the tickets with the triumphant air of someone who thought he'd just won something important. His fiancée lingered. She had the grace to look ashamed.
I'm really sorry. Sometimes I don't recognize the man I'm with. Thank you for saying that.
As they disappeared toward security, Isabel turned back to Kevin, trying to hold on to hope.
"Just got a ping last seat on the next flight was taken while we were talking. I can put you on standby, but odds aren't great, doctor."
She called Dr. Singh again.
What's the absolute latest we can operate?
By 9 p.m., or her chances drop to near zero.
Keep trying to stabilize her. I'll figure something out.
But everything hit a wall. Charter planes? Too late. Trains? Too slow. 11-hour drive? Useless. Every route, every minute, every desperate workaround closed in her face. At exactly 8:30 p.m., her phone rang. She didn't want to answer, but she already knew.
We lost her. She coded an hour ago. We tried, but she didn't come back.
The airport around Isabel blurred. She dropped into a cold metal chair, her fingers slack around her phone. Her mind screamed a single word on loop. Why? She'd failed before, but never because of this, never because someone else's vacation mattered more than a child's heartbeat. Dr. Singh tried to soften it. Even with you here, we couldn't guarantee. But Isabel wasn't naive. Her technique had a 93% survival rate. The girl didn't die from a heart defect. She died from someone else's selfishness. Earlier, Graham Whitmore moved through the terminal like he owned the damn building coat slung over his shoulder, jaw set with smug satisfaction, and not a single glance. Behind him, Lena struggled to keep up. But it wasn't her heels that were slowing her, it was the weight of what had just happened.
I still can't believe you did that. She was a doctor. She said a child's life was at stake.
Lena, welcome to the real world. You snooze, you lose. I'm not going to miss a weekend getaway just because someone else couldn't hang on to their purse. Not my child. Not my problem.
She wasn't shopping. She was trying to save someone's child. How can you say that? Do you even hear yourself anymore?
You want honesty? Here it is. Success isn't built on bleeding hearts. It's built on focus, execution, and zero distractions. That woman, her emergency wasn't my fault. If I tried to fix every sob story, I'd never make it past Monday.
That wasn't a sob story. That was a life. A child's life.
You want someone who cries over every sad news article, or someone who gets done, because you can't have both?
He was already pulling out his laptop as they reached the gate. Flight 447 to Santa Barbara is now boarding Group A. The loudspeaker blared. Graham stood, businesslike.
Let's go. I want to check in before the dinner reservations.
The trip was exactly what he needed. No clients, no noise, no guilt, just 5-star everything. The fact that some overworked surgeon got left behind? Not his concern. He settled into his first-class seat with all the grace of a man who thought he'd won the lottery, head back, shoes off, glass of champagne in hand before the wheels even left the ground. Across the aisle, Lena stared out the window, the guilt gnawing at her now louder than the engines. Because somewhere out there, a little girl was dying, and her boyfriend was toasting to it. But Graham? He had no idea the flight he boarded would take a turn he never saw coming.
So we land, check in, sip champagne by the ocean, and forget all about the mess at the airport.
As the cabin lights dimmed and the engines droned, Dana finally broke the silence.
I haven't stopped thinking about that, doctor.
Seriously? We're still on this?
Yes, because she was trying to save a life. And we, well, you, decided your weekend plans mattered more.
Spare me, Lena. If I spent all day feeling guilty about strangers, I'd be broke and burnt out. It's not cold, it's realistic.
That's exactly the problem. For you, it's just over. You've already forgotten about that doctor and her patient.
Lena was quiet for a moment. Then she finally said that she got a job offer yesterday. Senior marketing director for a tech startup in Seattle. It's a huge opportunity, twice her current salary.
Seattle? Why didn't you tell me about this yesterday?
Because I knew you'd react exactly like you're reacting now. And because after watching you at the airport today, I started wondering if this is a sign that we're not as compatible as I thought.
A sign? Lena, we've been together for 3 years. We've built a life together. You can't just abandon all of that for a job.
I'm not abandoning anything. I'm considering a career opportunity that could set me up for the rest of my life. You keep acting like everything I do that doesn't orbit around you is a betrayal.
Well, if you take this job, that's it. I'm not doing long distance. I'm not uprooting everything I've built.
Dana leaned back in her seat, closing her eyes. Not angry, not cold, just done explaining. As the plane began its descent into Santa Barbara, Lena turned to face him one more time.
Graham, I've made my decision. I'm taking the job in Seattle. I'm choosing my future over a relationship with someone who can't support my dreams or even show basic compassion for other people.
Graham felt something crack inside his chest. Not physical pain. Then he had an idea. A terrible, manipulative idea that would either save their relationship or destroy it completely. Graham clutching at his chest and letting his face contort in apparent pain.
Lena, my heart, I think I'm having an episode. It's the stress, the fighting. My heart can't handle this.
He let himself slump forward slightly, one hand pressed to his chest, breathing heavily.
Oh my God, Graham. Flight attendant. We need help.
Then he made the mistake of looking into her eyes and seeing not just concern, but genuine terror at the thought of losing him. Suddenly, the depth of her love and fear made Graham realize how manipulative and cruel his performance was.
Actually, I'm fine. Got you though, didn't I?
The concern on Lena's face instantly transformed into disgust and rage.
Are you kidding me? You faked a heart attack? You were manipulating me, Graham. That's not love. That's emotional abuse.
I was making a point about how much you care about me. I was trying to save our relationship.
By lying about a medical emergency? That's not just manipulative, Graham. It's sick.
She stood up and started gathering her belongings as the plane taxied to the gate.
We're done. Completely done. Don't call me, don't text me, don't show up at my apartment. I never want to see you again.
Lena. Wait.
But she was already moving toward the front of the plane, pushing past other passengers in her hurry to get away from him. Graham started to follow her, panic rising in his throat. He couldn't let her leave like this. He had to explain, had to make her understand that he'd only lied because he loved her so much. He called out Lena again, but stumbling slightly as he got up from his seat. That's when the real heart attack hit. The pain was unlike anything Graham had ever experienced. A crushing, burning sensation that started in his chest and radiated down his left arm. His vision blurred, and he felt his legs give out beneath him as he collapsed in the airplane aisle. Someone screamed.
Oh my God. Help! This man is having a heart attack!
When he woke up again, he was in a hospital bed with tubes and wires attached to various parts of his body. Lena was sitting in a chair beside him, her eyes red from crying, her hair disheveled.
What happened?
You had a massive heart attack. You've been unconscious for 18 hours. They had to perform emergency surgery to clear blocked arteries.
Graham tried to sit up but found that even small movements exhausted him.
The doctor, Dr. Hartman, saved your life. She got here on a charter flight just in time to perform the surgery. If she'd been even an hour later...
The irony hit Graham like another blow to the chest. The woman whose patient had died because of his selfishness had now saved his life. The cosmic justice that he'd claimed not to believe in had delivered its verdict with surgical precision. The only sounds in the room were the soft beep of the heart monitor and the occasional shuffle of nurses in the hallway. Lena didn't reach for his hand. She didn't lean closer. She just watched him, like she was trying to decide whether she felt pity or nothing at all. Graham swallowed hard.
I didn't mean for it to go this far. Lena, please. I was scared. I messed up. I know that now.
Get better, Graham. That's all you need to worry about now.
She looked at him, her eyes no longer angry but tired, bone deep tired. And with that, she walked out of the room, the door clicking shut behind him. A few minutes later, Dr. Hartman entered, her posture straight, her face unreadable. Not cold, not warm, just precise.
You're stable. Your heart responded well to the stents.
Dr. Hartman was quiet for a long moment. Then she said,
She was 12 years old. Emma Rodriguez. She loved horses and wanted to be a veterinarian when she grew up.
I killed her. My selfishness killed a 12-year-old girl.
Mr. Harrison, Emma's death wasn't entirely your fault. Her condition was extremely unstable. Even if I'd been there, there's no guarantee the surgery would have been successful.
But there was a chance.
Yes, there was a chance.
Graham felt tears streaming down his face, the first time he'd cried since his father's funeral 23 years ago.
How can you even stand to be in the same room with me? How can you save the life of someone who cost you your patient?
Because that's what doctors do, Mr. Harrison. We save lives when we can, regardless of whether we think the patient deserves it. But you're also a human being who's been given a second chance. The question is, what are you going to do with it?
After Dr. Hartman left, Graham lay alone in his hospital bed contemplating the wreckage of his life. Lena had agreed to stay with him through his recovery. His business would suffer during his extended recovery period. He'd already lost 2 major clients who couldn't wait for him to get back to work. His perfect weekend in Santa Barbara had turned into a near-death experience that had cost him everything he thought mattered. But lying there in that sterile hospital room, he realized that what he'd lost, his girlfriend, his business momentum, his carefully planned future, wasn't actually what mattered most. What mattered was the second chance Dr. Hartman had mentioned. The opportunity to become someone different from the man who had condemned a child to death for the sake of a weekend getaway. 3 months later, Graham sat in his doctor's office for a routine cardiac follow-up. His recovery had been slower than expected, but he was finally cleared to return to normal activities.
Your heart function is excellent. The surgery was a complete success. You should be able to live a normal, full life as long as you stick to your medications and exercise regimen.
Thank you, Dr. Patel.
I have to ask, though, have you given any thought to what might have triggered this event? You're young for such a severe heart attack, and your family history doesn't indicate high risk.
Graham considered the question carefully. 3 months ago, he would have blamed stress, genetics, bad luck, anything except his own choices. Now he had a different perspective.
I think it was a combination of stress and living in a way that wasn't sustainable. I spent years prioritizing the wrong things, treating people badly, and ignoring the consequences of my actions. My body finally gave out under the weight of all that negativity.
Emotional stress can definitely contribute to cardiac events. Have you made any lifestyle changes since the surgery?
And he had. Graham's recovery period had given him time to completely reevaluate his life and priorities. He'd started volunteering at the Children's Hospital, where Dr. Hartman worked, reading to young patients and helping families navigate the stress of having a sick child. It was his way of honoring Emma Rodriguez's memory and trying to balance the cosmic scales he'd thrown so far out of alignment. He'd also restructured his consulting business to focus on helping nonprofit organizations improve their operations and fundraising capabilities. The work paid less than his previous corporate clients, but it gave him a sense of purpose he'd never experienced in his old career. Most importantly, he'd started therapy to understand why he'd become such a selfish, empathy-deficient person in the first place. The process was painful, confronting years of prioritizing success over relationships, money over meaning, personal convenience over basic human decency. But it was also liberating.
How are things with your girlfriend? Lena, wasn't it? She was listed as your emergency contact during your hospitalization.
We're not together anymore. She took a job in Seattle and moved on with her life. But we're friends now, which is more than I deserved after how I treated her.
Lena had stayed in Denver through Graham's initial recovery, visiting him daily and helping coordinate his care. But she'd made it clear that their romantic relationship was over, that too much damage had been done for them to rebuild their partnership.
She made the right choice, because the man she was dating before my heart attack wasn't someone worth building a future with. I hope I'm becoming someone better, but that's not her responsibility to wait around and find out. Lena had moved to Seattle 6 weeks ago, and based on her social media posts, she was thriving in her new job.
She'd sent Graham a card on his birthday with a note saying she was proud of the changes he was making and hoped he continued growing into the person she'd always believed he could be. It wasn't romantic love, but it was something more valuable: forgiveness and genuine friendship from someone who'd seen him at his worst and still believed in his capacity for redemption. After leaving Dr. Patel's office, Graham drove to the Children's Hospital for his weekly volunteer shift. He'd been working with the same group of kids for 2 months now, and they'd become an important part of his life.
Mr. Graham, did you bring the next chapter?
Called out 7-year-old Sophia as he entered the pediatric ward. She was recovering from her second heart surgery and had been in the hospital for 3 weeks. Graham had been reading her Charlotte's Web, 1 chapter per visit, and she was eagerly following the adventures of Wilbur the pig and his spider friend. As he read to Sophia, Graham thought about Emma Rodriguez, whose death had ultimately saved his life by forcing him to confront who he'd become. He'd never met Emma, would never have the chance to apologize for his role in her death, but he could honor her memory by being the kind of person who would fight to save a child's life rather than obstruct the effort for personal convenience. After his reading session, Graham stopped by Dr. Hartman's office. She'd become something of a mentor to him during his recovery, helping him understand how to channel his guilt into positive action.
How did your cardiac follow-up go?
Clean bill of health. Dr. Patel says my heart function is completely normal now. I still think about Emma every day, and I still feel guilty about what happened. But I'm learning to transform that guilt into motivation to do better.
That's exactly what Emma would want. Her parents started a foundation in her memory to provide funding for families who can't afford specialized cardiac care. They've asked me to serve on the board. They want the foundation to be more than just a tribute. They want it to be a second chance for others, and maybe for people like you, too.
I'd like to be involved, if they'll let me. I know I don't deserve it, but I want to help.
You don't have to earn redemption in one grand gesture. You earn it in small moments, every time you show up, every time you read to Sophia, every time you choose to stay on this path.
Then I'll keep showing up. For Emma, for Sophia, for whoever needs someone to fight for them.
And for the first time, Graham didn't feel like he was pretending to be that man. He felt like he finally was. 1 year later, Graham stood at the podium in the ballroom of the Denver Marriott, addressing an audience of 300 people who had gathered for the first annual Emma Rodriguez Memorial Gala.
12 months ago, I was a different person living a different life. I was selfish, callous, and completely indifferent to other people's suffering. On March 15th of last year, that indifference contributed to the death of a beautiful 12-year-old girl named Emma Rodriguez. I used to think success was about numbers, influence, power, but Emma taught me something I should have known all along. True legacy is measured in lives touched, not deals closed.
And as Graham looked over at the banner above the stage, the Emma Rodriguez Memorial Gala, every child deserves a chance. He felt it settle deep into his bones. He hadn't just come full circle. He'd finally come home after the gala. He turned to see Dr. Hartman approaching, elegant in her dress.
Thank you for coming tonight. And thank you for everything you've done to support the foundation. Thank you for making it possible. Emma's parents told me you've been instrumental in the foundation's success.
It's the least I could do.
I have something to tell you. I heard from Lena yesterday. She wanted me to pass along a message.
Graham's heart skipped a beat at the mention of his ex-girlfriend's name.
How is she?
She's doing well. Thriving in Seattle, actually. But she wanted you to know that she's proud of the man you've become. She said she always knew this person was inside you, waiting to emerge.
Graham felt tears welling up in his eyes.
I hope she's happy.
She is. She's engaged to a colleague, a software engineer who shares her passion for social justice. But she also said that watching your transformation gave her hope that people really can change when they commit to growth.
I'm glad she found someone worthy of her.
She said the same thing about you, actually. That you've become worthy of the love you lost.
They walked back toward the hotel together, and Graham reflected on the long journey that had brought him to this moment. He'd lost everything he thought mattered, his girlfriend, his old career, his carefully planned future. But he'd gained something more valuable. Purpose, meaning, and the knowledge that he was finally living a life that honored rather than diminished the world around him.
Dr. Isabel, do you believe in redemption? Do you think someone who's done terrible things can ever truly make amends?
I think redemption isn't about erasing the past, Graham. It's about choosing to write a better future. You can't bring Emma back, but you've honored her memory by becoming someone who would fight to save her rather than obstruct her rescue.
I hope that's enough.
It's everything. It's the difference between a life wasted and a life redeemed.
As he drove home that night, he thought about the man he'd been 1 year ago, selfish, cruel, indifferent to suffering. That man had died in an airplane aisle when his heart finally gave out under the weight of his own callousness. The man driving home now was someone entirely different, someone who understood that true wealth came from service, that real success meant making other people's lives better, and that the most important seat on any airplane was the one you gave up so someone else could save a life. He'd learned the hardest lesson possible, that every choice has consequences, that karma is real and patient, and that the universe always collects its debts. But he'd also learned that redemption was possible for anyone willing to do the hard work of becoming someone better. Sometimes the most profound transformations begin with the worst failures. Sometimes you have to lose everything to discover what actually matters. It had only taken a child's death, and his own near death, to teach him what should have been obvious all along. We're all in this together, and the only seat that really matters is the one at the table of common humanity. He'd found his place at that table, and he was never giving it up again.